So do the recap for YouTube. Here we go. So we just landed next to the squad, contesting a landing in a tree. We took the back building here, which usually has like enough loot. Would have preferred if one of my teammates had landed on this building over here also, and then like 2 people can split the loot here, and you get roughly a similar amount of loot as opposed to like a full squad that like lands on the tree here, and you get like slight high ground on them, and I think like slightly better lines of sight, but that's just me. So I was actually super fortunate, able to find a 3x hemlock, right? And so I'm going to be trying to work the distance with this weapon, which is about what I'm about to do right here. I'm going to like miss the first 2 bursts on this Bloodhound, which is a shame, because I'm trying to lead him, and like they reverse their direction of motion twice, just as I'm about to hit the shots, which is very unfortunate, right? So like you can see, like guys, yeah, they dodge bob left and they bob right, and so like we're coming up here now, like on the first arrow that I make right here, which is that I'm about to like re-peak this angle. So what just happened here, right, is like I shot and I broke the enemy pathfinder, and then they just snapped around, and so instead of like immediately moving into cover or grappling away or doing something defensive, they snapped around and shot on me, right? Like, which is like fundamentally like not a very good thing to do from a defensive perspective, unless like you're really confident you're going to hit those shots. So either they got a really good shot and they sort of already saw me anyways, or they've got a scope on that sniper rifle, and so they were confident that, like, you know, from that range, right, they'd be able to be more precise than me. Regardless of what it is, right, like they actually were very successful in that damage exchange, in spite of the fact that like that I broke them. Like, all things considered, right, like they were the ones that got surprised, not me, and they performed almost the same amount, they put almost the same amount of damage into me. So re-peaking this angle, I think, is not a good idea, right? So that's the first issue. After that, like we do like a lot of damage to that Bloodhound, and so I like try to approach. I take like a really poor approach angle. So this is like the next error, right? So if I'd wanted to move more in like this direction here, then I should have like climbed up and gone around the backside and climbed over the top here, right? So that if I like started to get like beamed again by the triple take, I just drop down the backside and I'm safe, right? Instead, like I'm running around here on the front side, not really protecting myself very much. I could have also like cut out to the right here and used these boxes as cover. I don't like to do this as much. I don't like that as much because I like to like take low ground, and it doesn't give me as much of a chance to like work sort of the hemlock from range, right? As soon as I drop down to the low ground, basically what I'm committing to is like this climb play here, and then taking like this top ring, right? Looking at where my teammates are and this like overall timing that we're looking at, I would probably be reaching and contacting the enemy position like way before them, and I still don't have any armor or shields to heal off and top off here. So that's not good. And so I take like, you know, I take shots for like being out in the cover here, do a really poor job of like using like my void walk here. It's just a complete waste of the void walk. I was not playing super great yesterday, I guess. One of them's on the zip line on the left. 42 on the Pathfinder's flash. Needed, but like had I registered like any shots there, like that would have been better. Bloodhound. The enemy starts like making a retreat here, using the Bangalore smokes to cover their teammates. Yeah. Just like looking for them, looking for an angle on this Bangalore, being very conservative with the ammo, right? Just because I don't have a whole lot of it now. Like, so I know that like the next time that I shoot like with the hemlock, it's probably going to be like the last few peeks that I'll be taking with the weapon. Yeah, they're going over here. And so our next major error, I think, is like right here. And so like if you look at it, right, like this Bloodhound is like standing still, which is like super sketchy, right? Like that like implies to me like they've got something like a sniper rifle, like with a scope on it probably, or something like that, right? Like that's like what people start to do like when we've got those kinds of weapons, because their strafe speed's so reduced. And also we see the Pathfinder who like snapped around and shot us with the triple take running around back here. And so these shots here are like pretty complicated, right? Like I'm like literally trying to thread the needle right now, like between like this little thing here, right? I think he's trying to do the same thing to me. I just like was able to do it a little faster than him or them or whatever, the Bloodhound. But it's like this peak here is like super dicey. So like I'm going to continue to play this angle for a little while, but I really don't think this is a good idea, right? Because, you know, we've had several like warning signs that like these enemies might actually be equipped to like combat me like at this range, which is not what we want, right? So like you'll even see like the Pathfinder start like jiggle peeking a little bit out here on the right. So thankfully like I give up angle, but you know, if, like totally like could have just been like the Pathfinder being a little more aware, turning towards me, and I would have been down already, right? Which would have completely shut down any sort of push and actually would have probably enabled them to push me, which is not good. That's the hemlock before it's out of ammo. My teammates start to push in finally like along the low ground after like looting around like down here and stuff. And like I'm still like trying to like go for these like very complex shots, like threading the cover, which I just, you know, again like just don't think are a good idea. And my teammates like become like committed now, like on the low ground, and I'm like really far away with 10 remaining shots in the hemlock, right? So probably during this time where I've been like trying to like thread the needle like through these, right? Like this is I think like the next error is like I should have been trying to reposition to be close to my teammates to be able to provide assistance. So you know, it would have meant not getting quite as much value and being able to like just abuse enemies for free, like with like an early 3x sight on the hemlock. But I think it makes the difference for my teammates, right? They wind up taking too much damage and the engagement overall takes too long without me being there to resolve. So able to get some you know, mileage out of like the remainder of like the hemlock. Then right here I like get confused by like the Mirage crud and wind up shooting like the Mirage dummies instead of like the enemy, and it takes, and then I like waste an entire R99 mag before missing a lot of shots to finish up on this person. So overall, you know, like this whole damage exchange at the end here took too long, right? Like it took like another like 10 seconds, and I probably should have been like closer and more effective in wrapping up this fight, which winds up, you know, so we win this fight, right? But we wind up getting third party, right? And so like looking at the overall time of this clip, right? Like our fight with these people took almost 2 minutes, which is too long. And so that's like why like I'm like pointing out like all these inefficiencies here, because like, you know, like I lost a lot of HP during this fight, and the fight took a really long time. My teammates lost a lot of HP during the fight also, so which applies to me, you know, again, like that just was not efficient enough. So, you know, seems like a lot of small things, and you might be thinking, you know, like, but you won the fight, right? But it's like, you know, we didn't win it fast enough, and we didn't win it efficiently enough. So, you know, I'm just like trying to think of like the ways that like I could have been more efficient and cleaner with my play, because like that's, you know, what improving is all about. All right, so that wraps up the analysis segment for today.